What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
Welcome back to the NECC tonight. A battle of best, a clash of Colossus caliber, a real treat as the elite meet. The Durham Lords will send their finest royal member to battle against the Arcadian Knights' most noble knight at the round table, NoahSM Nyte. Let's get it cracking. My name is Ethan Dolan, probably better known as Nelhead, joined tonight by Wida. How are we doing?
We're doing just fine, and I'll appreciate a good intro because I was afraid that was a pretty damn solid one, mates. But yes, we have a pretty big match going on right now, right? Obviously, Nyte's been performing quite well. I think both players are 4-1, right, in standings.
Both players are 4-1. This is a clash at the top of the Champions Division, our top division here for Hearthstone. So it should be a good one regardless. We don't have any of those heap lists that we had 2 weeks ago. We are looking at top to bottom excellence here tonight. I'm super excited. We're just waiting on these bans to come through.
Yes, we're looking at actual deck lists, which is when you're having a tournament that involves every skill level of play, can sometimes, be a little bit of a bit of a rarity, right? But exquisite list coming in for right now. We have the Fell Demon Hunter, so not quite full on OTK, not quite aggro Demon Hunter, but more like a Fell Demon Hunter. Actually, no, this is straight up aggro DH with just like random Drago Warblades in there. But that can still work. Also, we have a Highlander Hunter, we have a Gibbling Druid, and we have just a good old Stealth Mage coming from Nyte. In terms of Noah's deck lists, we are seeing Enraged Warrior, we're seeing Highlander Hunter again, seeing another Gibbling Druid. Wait, this is not a Gibbling Druid actually, but it has the same sort of core. It just swaps out the Gibblings for 2 copies of Tree Enforcements, pretty much a full-on Treant. And in terms of the rogues, he has gone for the World Kick Master Rogue build of the Tempo Rogue. So again, all around the block, pretty good lineups. Again, we don't have full ban information just yet, so that will be coming through very shortly. And again, my man, how are we feeling about this? Like, how are we feeling about these lineups? Like who do you think will win?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about these lineups, and this is the first week that I've been on cast that we haven't seen just a lot of hyper-aggressive things. I really like 2 Highlander Hunters coming through. I think it's a deck that's very strong, and I think it's a deck that favors the better player in the matchup, especially in the mirror. There's so much variability, right? When you're playing something that is very aggressive, low to the ground, you talk about this Token Druid, you talk about this Gibberling Druid, it's like, well, did I draw the things that generate creatures or no? Cool. Either take the W or I pretty much concede, move on to the next, right? Very ladder, but this Hunter list feels great as we will see the Hunter. I believe this will be this is our ban game. So the Hunter will be banned for Nyte, and Nyte is going to take out that Enraged Warrior on the other side. So just gonna clear those from my notes here really quickly. So now that we actually have our list, we've got Demon Hunter, Druid, Rogue coming through from Nyte, and for NoahSM it will be Hunter, Druid, and Rogue. Excited to see here. I feel really great. I feel really great about NoahSM here. How you feeling, Wita, moving in?
I don't know, man. I guess I feel pretty good. Yeah, that was a bit of a weird. I just kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but you know that can happen. But again, obviously, Warrior we've seen again like over and over again being probably one of the most potent decks in the meta game in general. Like it's an incredibly strong deck. So that being taken away here to me is no surprise. I'm kind of surprised to see Highlander Hunter being taken away. It's kind of agreed upon at the highest level of play that Highlander Hunter as a deck is one of those decks where it's always statistically very good on ladder, but in tournament play, when people have full access to the deck list, knows exactly what to play around, the deck tends to just fall short. And I think that we might see that tale be repeated today. And again, I can understand why I want to ban it, because on paper it's really strong, it's really good, but again, when you're staring down a lineup that includes Stealth Aggro Rogue, one of probably the strongest deck in the metagame right now, bar none, and you decide to ban Highlander Hunter, like I can understand that you probably have a little bit more experience with the lineup itself and what you wanted to do, but not taking out the best tournament deck in the game compared to like probably the worst one it's debatable strategic choice in the first place, right?
Yeah, absolutely debatable strategy coming through, and the Stealth Rogue list, as you said, very, very solid. What are the advantages here of coming in with the World Kick Rogue list instead? Why in your mind would you choose that over the Stealth Rogue list?
That's a really good question, because I actually prefer playing the list myself, but that's pure personal bias and nothing else, really. It's one of those decks that I just tend to it's a deck that really does just do better. I feel like it's a deck that has a bit more consistency, has a little bit like longevity to its game. It has a better matchup against specific control list, I suppose. I guess it has a better matchup against Paladin as well, but the Stealth Rogue is just so damn quick that it tends to not really matter about like which matchups you have available to yourself. So we are going to be moving into our game here. We're going to be seeing Noah on this Highlander Hunter. So let's see whether Noah's actually going to win. But it looks like Nyte's opening hand seems pretty okay to me. But again, obviously Noah right now Blazing Battle Mage into Pack Tactics or Scavenger's Ingenuity. That Pack Tactics was kept in hand, I must add, which I find a tad bit curious. But I do guess you can see the argument with it, with it being like a pretty trade-heavy matchup.
Yeah, indeed. I do like to see these double Dreamway Guardians coming through off the bat. I talked about finding those cards that generate you multiple creatures, and we find just that. We have the buffs in hand. This could be a solid start for Nyte, but NoahSM looking pretty solid as well. What should we keep our eyes on here, early game Wita in this matchup, as we'll see the trade presented here into the 1-2.
You said the magic word. You said trade, and that is what we're going to be looking at throughout this entire early game. Because the thing is that both of these decks excel with having board pressure. Yes, Highlander Hunter does have access to those powerful finishes in the Dragonbane, the Bran, as well as the Sufferers, obviously. But you need to have that bot control in the first place, and the Druid seems to have fallen a little bit short here in terms of that, with that Blazing Battle Mage and the top tier of the Bone Shield Brawler. And the thing is that if this Druid comes too far behind on board and doesn't have a massive wide refill, it becomes quite hard to really get going for them. And again, obviously we're talking about this, we're looking at Blessing of the Ancients, we're looking at Power of the Wild in hand, these major buff spells, and like looking at this even, right, like these are just free trades being taken. NoahSM can coin out this Ringling's Rifle and just clear the board if he wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. My eyes are on the Solar Eclipse from Nyte. Spent a lot of time thinking about the value of trying to maybe holding on to the Dreamway Guardians and double dipping. In your mind, how much value do you have to get out of Solar Eclipse to dump that extra 2 mana into a turn? What makes it worth it on that end for Nyte?
I mean, Solar Eclipse is just incredibly powerful, right? Because you're able to use it to get a bigger refill, like, and you're able to use it to get like double up on the buffs. Here, the most obvious example of that would probably be to use it in conjunction with Arbor Up, which has been the primary reason as to why Token Druid decks kind of finally got that last piece of fuel that had been lacking throughout like the last year or so. It's been a bit of a while. I do not like not taking the trade with a 2-1 here. Luckily for Noah, the hand percentage from Nyte isn't great. I hope there's going to be a free too. If they've watched and learned, they have. They're getting smarter. That is great. But now the thing is that this like now there's like there were like so now like Nyte was allowed to take a value trade, right? Had he just taken the trade over there, he would have value trade again, and this Powder Wild would have been a lot weaker than we're currently seeing it. And obviously, yes, Noah can just fully trade back here with the Ringling's Rifle should he feel the need to do that. But again, there's like an unnecessary 2-1 in play right now.
Yeah, unnecessary 2-1 in play indeed. The name of the game is trading, like you said, and there's solid bodies trading that 4-3. You have the 3-3s, obviously the Wolper Taker to go in right there. Sitting in hand, a lot of options right here. Going to opt to go with the Eagle Horn Bow. Gonna see if they do present a trade with that. Thinking about tossing that coin out, and we'll do just that to play the pack tactics. Very efficient turn with the mana, getting a lot out right there. Maintaining board control here, sending it off, keeping a 3-3 on board. Ready to trade into just about anything. NoahSM in pretty solid positioning here.
I would say so. I'm still just a fan of the Ringling's Rifle, because then again, yes, you would have to be giving up a free here, so you would have like left that boy alone, but you'll be able to get a little bit more continuous value, I'd say, at least, right? Because you have the Law Cube Uphold Colony, you can keep the coin to accelerate out the cards that will be coming off the top there. But I guess your hand isn't fulfilled enough to be able to go to the position where this is, but now I do like the summoning of the double eagles right now. You do get to test some secrets as well in the process. And now Noah just top decks the Petting Zoo, and that is a pretty damn good top deck, because that's 2 more free frees that Nyte has to deal with. The hero power is probably going to come through and follow in tune here. I would like to see the weapon swing, and yes, I know that you are going to be losing a weapon charge from it, but it just feels like unnecessary to leave them in play. I do guess that the pack tactics will guarantee a reshuffling of the free, so you do just trade the board equally. However, had something like an Innovate or a Lightning Bloom been drawn here, we would have seen a pretty significant punish come through with the double Arbor Up. Not the case. So now Nyte he's forced to look for new options.
Yeah, and if they weren't in such a trouble, I mean, pretty sick play, Solar Eclipse into Arbor Up, into Aeroponics for free, but it's gonna feel like pretty low impact, despite how much that does. This is just not a solid position. I agree with what you said about NoahSM swinging with the weapon, especially when you do have the hunting bow in hand. No reason in my mind to hold on to that, but playing it safe nonetheless. Blessings of the Ancients coming through, gonna cast both halves of that twin spell, gonna get 2 5/5s and trade on board here, but little did they know pack tactics going to bring out another 3-3, and at the end of the day, no power is essentially lost, right? You gain the charge back in your weapon, you get another 3-3, and you lose 2 3-3s.
You absolutely do lose 2 free frees here, and again, but again, look at this, right? It's still fairly solid. This is still a very dominant position, I would say, for NoahSM. But the thing is that, granted that now we're going to be going for next turn for Nyte, right? You're looking at the famed turn 7 with the Solar Eclipse and the Arbor Up, so you're going to be getting +4/+4. Oh, sorry, it's +4/+2. Sorry, should I say? And then 4/2/2s on top of that to boot. The top deck here of the Dwarven Shropshire is actually much bigger than it might seem. Yes, you're top decking a one cast here, or one cast card. Sorry, should I say? However, did we just miss lethal? Actually,
Yeah, we did just miss lethal. I was counting it back 4 times. Yeah, we missed lethal with the hero power there on the dot. I counted it, and I was about to say something. I'm not a math major. 2 weeks ago, I missed math on stream, but yeah, this is a tough position to be in here from Nyte. You're gonna need a miracle to have. There, you're gonna gain 16, but you still have to find a way to do something here on the back end. You didn't deal with the board in any super meaningful way. Still 7 damage represented from the creatures. Here's Escape Shift coming through, going to deal with one of the threats, but not an ideal position to be in. NoahSM looking very solid here out the gates in game number 1 of the series.
Yes, and so one thing that's worth noting as well, the Lawkeeper Protocol will come down and guarantee the top deck of that Dynasty brand directly into the turn 8, meaning that it's going to be guaranteed 8 damage coming through from hand next turn, which in turn will guarantee lethal for Noah. So Nyte, despite his best efforts right now, left with nothing but to yield, it seems, and that's going to be a quick 1-0 game coming out here for Noah. And now, obviously, yes, we've talked about this before, going up 1-0, generally speaking, is a pretty good thing, but again, obviously, this is Conquest, so you're only as good as your weakest deck. That is something that we need to realize out there, right? Because we can go on and on about, yes, okay, obviously, he's up 1-0 is perfect. It's good, right? But again, if your weakest deck just doesn't perform against the matchup spread, well, then you're kind of doomed. But I feel like getting that Highlander Hunter through, at least for me, is something that I think is going to be a bit of a relief, to be honest, for the side of NoahSM here. However, like, Nyte obviously still in there, still with a shot. So that leaves Noah with the Druid of his own, as well as that World Kick Rogue, right? So again, for me right now, the biggest concern is probably the Druid list, because his Druid list, I don't like Druid lists without Gibbling when you're playing the more aggressive approach, because the thing is that yes, your Gibbling will end up messing up with your Fungal Fortunes. It also limits your early game pressure. So Noah is how gonna be queuing out this Wandering Monster. Wandering Monster, that's been a while. That's a Honda secret from way back in the day.
What year is it? Oh my goodness.
Played the game, Ethan, you know? But like, no. We are going to be talking about World Kick Master Rogue, sorry, should I say, as I did lose my head for a short second right there. But again, this deck, generally speaking, relies on bigger singular threats such as the Questing Adventurer, Edmund Van Cleef, but also has alternate win conditions in the form of generating cards for the World Kick Master, etc., and can also just play regular Tempo Rogue games that way. Just build a strong board, kill your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? When you've been casting Hearthstone as long as Weeda has, you're afforded a slip up or two. You know, a lot of deck lists over the years. I'm excited to see this World Kick Rogue. We were talking about in the pregame the pros and cons, World Kick versus the Stealth Rogue. I personally enjoy playing the World Kick more, even though I fully believe the Stealth Rogue's better. I'm not good at this game. Don't let me fool you. But there's just something so fun, so dynamic about the way the World Kick Rogue does play and can find paths to victory. And NoahSM has a pretty explosive hand right here. A lot of potential if they can find the right pieces, right? We do already see that Edwin in hand with the Questing Adventure, 2 of those large looming threats. And the solid thing is, on Nyte's side, it's not like Druid is packing much hard removal, right? I mean, bees is the thing that comes to mind first and foremost.
All right, let's see if Nyte makes the Eagle. This has to be an Eagle. This is the Eagle game plan number 1. Looking at the hand here, you do not need to draw. Yes, I like that we're finally seeing these American, like these players actually taking their time to make the Eagles. It was like my main talking point with my first 2 weeks of casting was that they never made the Eagle. They're even going to follow up with the Adorable Infestation. Obviously has a pretty significant play as well next turn with either Muscle Cup and Rising Winds, whatever. But again, my biggest issue with playing World Kick Rogue tends to be the plays off coin. Because when you don't have those Foxy Fraud into Evil Miscreant turns, which are pretty potent, I might add, a lot of the times you'll be forced to doing stuff like this, just randomly having a Secret Passage on turn 3. And I can understand here because Noah doesn't want to fall too far behind on tempo, so I definitely do respect it. Even if it's just going to be an Eviscerate coming through here onto the 4-3. it still presents them with a clean board for the following turn, which again should be a pretty positive outcome. But again, obviously would have much rather seen that if Secret Pass is being used in the later of the game to try to really make your questing adventure just like get bigger, right? That would be like, you want to use it to advance your game plan, not prohibit your opponents, and that is what happened right here.
Yeah, absolutely. NoahSM is thankful, though, to find that Eviscerate, able to control the board here early on, because you know against Token Druid, the more that you let stick, the more it will get out of control in a hurry, but we do see the board presence built right back up. There's the 3-2 Eagle, followed up by a 2-2 Treant, and staring down an even better board than he saw last turn, 3-2 and a 2-2 now instead of just that 1-1, so solid way to get a lot back on the board. Questing Adventure going to come out right here into the Wand Thief. Let's see what sticks around here and has some solid options. Is going to pick. I'm familiar. I did not get a chance to read that card. I was fully ready for the polymorph. I was locked in.
All right, so Rolling Fireball is a spell that does a total of 8 damage. Any excess damage will be rolled over to one of the adjacent minions of the minion after killed. Meaning that this spell rather, sorry, should I say, could kill off an entire board. Polymorph, again, very good spell when you're facing down those singular big threats, but that's not going to be the case when you're facing down this Token Druid, obviously, right? Hence the name Token Druid. It's not like you're going to be facing down Ancient Wars of Yold and stuff like that. No Hadronox is here, even, okay? No Hadronox is here. So my main issue with this play, right, is that you didn't have a... there was no props, anything like that, like to be able to like help you stabilize the board state here. I mean, this Arbor up is going to come down now with the Innovate, obviously, yes, again. Noah could not, like, didn't have a chance to know that. But again, there is no way for Noah to really help himself stabilize. And yes, this Rolling Fireball, however, is going to be an absolute beauty coming through right now, cleaning up the entire board. But again, you keep handing over the priority back to Nyte. Here's a Nyte again in the driver's seat yet again, but double Gibbling open here again. Not the greatest when you don't have the spells to follow it up, and there's no spells as of right now that can be used. Again, Rogue very good at cleaning up these smaller ones.
Yeah, going to start out with the Gibberling into the Cub right there, tossing out Bees, going to kill the Cub, trading a Bee into that, but will activate the Spell Burst on that Gibberling, putting out a solid board to deal with for NoahSM. Their hand looking solid. I mean, that Rolling Fireball, as you said, fantastic pick, great play, but the threats just keep on coming here from Nyte. Has the second Gibberling in hand as backup. These 1-1s are going to start rolling, and you're not going to feel it, but they are going to start hitting and hitting for more and more. NoahSM trying to find a way to stabilize here. Does have that Janus Barov in hand. There are some 5-cost minions that could do a lot on this board here.
Yeah, but again, the issue with the Janus, right, is that you guarantee your opponent a minion clear, right? Because the thing is that the thing about Janus, right, is that obviously one of the minions will be dying to a singular point of damage, and all that I see right now are singular points of damage. That's kind of a given, to be honest, right? So I do like the idea of potentially trying to find something different here with the Pharaoh Cat. Ancestral Guardian is quite good, just probably not what you're looking for right now. Could go with something like Fauna Power and Enclave. But again, Janus Barrow here, regardless of what I've just said, is definitely still a very good play and probably the best play on the turn. And BGH and Muckmoth are not really the minions you were hoping for right now. They will slowly but surely start falling apart, but the thing is that Nyte's hand has also kind of just started to fall apart, because again, there's been no real way for him to recycle the hand. There has been nothing to gain. There has been no card draw, no fungal fortunes, etc. to really keep him topped up, and right now it's just onslaught of like 1-1s trying to make a way in this world, and it's not really looking like it.
Yeah, not much that can be done. I mean, the Savage Roar in hand is something nice to sit on when you have a board of 1-1s, right? When your board is so wide, but we're just so far out from striking range here that it's just a dead card just sitting around, and that other Gibberling in hand, you don't have a spell that you want to play, right? You're not going to just play it in a Savage Roar just to get another Gibberling. So kind of sitting on an awkward hand, as you said, and NoahSM just has stuff in hand. Even if it's not the best for the situation, you just have stuff to play. And it's going to get better and better. Solid selection here, Spellwinks Alarm and Ethereal Arcanist. What are we looking at here for taking Weeda if you are in NoahSM shoes?
Definitely Solarian. The full Solarian is by far the superior minion right now. It's worth noting that obviously for Nyte right now, I don't think he played that one copy of Arbor already. So we'll be looking for another one somewhat shortly. But backs are going to come through here. I would potentially like to see. Okay, so it's going to be going with World Kickmaster into it. When I kind of like this, right? Because the thing is that you don't want to give your opponent any time. Finds a Swindle as well, an absolute elite pickup right now. And if I'm Nyte right now, I do think I'm going to close the curtains and say, we know what, we're going to be going on a short break before Act 3, because it's looking quite hard to come back from this position. Granted that what can happen, obviously, is that maybe Noah decides to disrespect the board, because it feels very wrong to start trading into it, and then a surprise Savage Raw situation could happen, but highly unlikely to be the case right now. Spellwing plus Miscreant here, pretty much every, okay, never mind, but pretty much every lackey in the game right now helps with his board, so I think Noah is quite content with just going for Miscreant. Shadow Stop? Never mind, not the case.
There's the Swindle. NoahSM playing the slow, trying to get all the resources possible. I feel probably trading out with the Gibberling that still has Spell Burst available is a solid play. I would just double trade out. If you're playing this slow, if you're amassing this many resources, understanding that Nyte only has one card in hand, how much damage can they do, especially in a world where deck lists are open, I would just trade out and say, you know what? Beat me with something off the top of your deck. Like, I'm not sure what the worst you can do. Glowfly Swarm is kind of like the bailout, but there's no spells in hand for it to really activate off of. You're going to get, what, 1/2/2? There's just not a lot, if anything, that bails Nyte out of this situation. I don't mind NoahSM playing the slow at all, but is going to send that 8/8 to hit the face.
Alright, this is the one time I'll allow Rising Wind for card draw. This is the one time I'll allow you to draw a card. Yes, thank you, go ahead. I don't think this Reinforcements inclusion, by the way. Like, both players are playing Reinforcements in their deck, and I'm just not a fan.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I'm just not a fan. And it is what it is, obviously, at the end of the day. Stuff happens and people make questionable decisions with the deck. This might be the case. This might be the common way to build the deck at the moment. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. I just don't necessarily personally like the Reinforcements. I think that there are better ways to round out your deck. Like, I would even rather play Goro to my tree, for example. Like, just a more top end or something. Or like Solar Forest is still a pretty good card. When you're deciding to play, Reinforcements as well, as I will start questioning a little bit, especially when you're playing Blessing of the Ancients on top of this as well. I don't know, man. There are decisions in these decks that still don't really speak to me on a personal level, but seeing an 8 of Edward Cleave and a Questing Adventure on board would definitely speak to me on a personal level here. So this should be a pretty straightforward turn, all things considered. As I was saying before, right, Kobold Lackey and Goblin Lackey are two fantastic lackeys to help clear boards, and that is very much what's going to come down right now. Very clean trades on offer. Brain Freeze and Police Plunder among the better minions in general here as well. So right now for Noah, it's just about finding the correct place. I don't believe there's any way for him to actually lethal Nyte right now due to lack of board space. I could be wrong, however. If you take that trade and then you Brain Freeze one of the 1/2s, you play Police Plunderer. Yeah, and then, because then you can guarantee all the arcane missiles going to face with the Kobold Lackey on top of the arcane missiles. That's actually lethal. This time around, lethal was not missed. I repeat, lethal was not missed. Or was no, I don't think this is even as lethal. I feel like I'm just. But never mind this. They didn't account for the when coming through.
There it is.
That is. There it is. There it is. Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
And then some for NoahSM here in game number 2, rattling off 2 quick dubs. All that's left to win now for NoahSM, if I'm not mistaken, is their own token druid list. The one that does have the absence of Gibberlings, as we were talking about. What are you running into this? If you are on the other side, if you are Nyte, knowing exactly the list that is left on the table here, Rito, are you running Demon Hunter Druid, or are you trying to run back the Rogue?
Due to how the tiebreaker system that we are using for this tournament, it is a pure game score. right? That is the tiebreaker system in place, which is worth noting. So in a lot of tournaments, you might as well just be like, okay, my overall game score is going to be my third or fourth tiebreaker, so I'm not really going to like look too much into that. So here I think that the important thing for Nyte is going to be finding the best matchup to queue into it, whatever they believe to be the best matchup, and I think that is going to be the Demon Hunter, but that could be right, that's going to be Rogue. Okay, so this matchup is a bit of an interesting one, because again, you don't have those, you do not have those early backstabs, for example, which is currently seen in the other Rogue list that we saw from Noah, the World Kick Master Rogue. However, this hand from Noah looks pretty good, but again, for those of you that haven't had the fantastic, joyful experience of playing against the Stealth Rogue, that 3-man weapon in hand from Nyte right now is a pretty damn good weapon. So it is a 1/4 and it gains +1 attack every time it attacks. And when you start buffing that up with spells such as Deadly Poison and the Nitrogen Boost Poison that we also see in hand right now, it ends up becoming quite the scary thing when you pack it up with the rest of the burn package in Rogue alongside Stealth minions, but which are nowhere to be seen right now, giving Noah a lot of time here, going to be able to make this 2/2 uncurve without any real issue. It tends to pack a punch, but I would actually go to make the case that given the correct opener, which is currently more or less present, Druid tends to be in a pretty good spot in this matchup, and there's just nothing else to say. Noah just needs to build a board, because he's not going to be interacting with the one that Nyte will be building. And again, Dreamway Guardian's incredibly important card in this matchup, just because of that ever so looming presence of that lifesteal coming through. And again, it's pretty hard for Rogue. It's not hard per se, but like without backstab, stuff like that, it becomes quite hard for them to really focus on killing those lifesteal minions. And I would be very disappointed to not see Lightning Bloom into Arbor Up, because that is surely pretty much going to lock out Nyte out of the game.
Yeah, super exposed start for NoahSM. Nyte had the opportunity to trade, right? If you would have hit the 2/2 on turn 1 with your weapon, then on turn 2 you could have hit with Self-Sharpening Sword to keep the board count down a little bit. I'm not sure would it ultimately matter in the long run, but this is just so tough to look at. This whole gaggle of trees just staring you down. Some got lifesteal, some don't. The hand doesn't provide you much on the board to deal with the Self-Sharpening Sword. I mean, you're gonna get fatigued smacking these minions down, trading with your face, gonna try to find something with a Secret Passage there. Deadly Poison off the top. We're gonna trade a bunch of cards that are already in hand. That Eviscerate will be somewhat solid here to deal with at least one member on the board. Will pop out the Deadly Poison to follow. Pretty mana efficient turn, but once again, I mean, I feel very strongly that Nyte should have took that opportunity early on to mark down the Treant with 1 damage on turn 1 and finish it off on turn 2. Or turn 2 and finish it off on turn 3, excuse me.
It's a bit of a weird one, right? Because we can sit in hindsight 2020 and all that, but again, also there was no minions found for Nyte. And sometimes Druid just does Druid things here, as Coin Savage Roar is going to mean that Nyte is no more. NoahSM with a very quick, very swift, very savage 3-0 here to put themselves in with a bid for top of the table. Nelhan, that was a bit of a quick dirty office for the two of us, but I don't know what to say, man. It was I mean, that's just how Hearthstone at the moment in the current game is, right? You have a lot when you go with these very aggressive strategies, and people tend to play quite well, quite early, and quite aggressive, and don't really need too much time to think about the turns, because they aren't that complicated. And obviously, again, it's just a weird metagame, right? Because we've seen all these decks for the past 4 months, for some of them even like the past year or so. And again, we are going into the twilight of this current expansion of this year of Hearthstone as well, right? We do have, in I believe a week or more from now, pretty much, we do have the annual rotation, which is going to be very interesting to watch, to see how that's going to impact everything Hearthstone-wise. But before we go, I do believe that there are some people that we need to and we want to shout out. Am I correct?
I think we're good. No ad read. The beautiful commercials predating the stream now. Get the job done. Make it a little bit easier on us. Speaking of easy, as you said, light work there for NoahSM. bit of a statement victory in my mind, Nyte, as they now exalt themselves in first place in our top division, in the Champions Division, making it look easy against a player they're both tied with at 4-1. Nyte, any closing thoughts before we send the people into a break?
Not really. I'm just gonna say those ads are well and truly beautiful. So you should definitely look at them as they were coming up right now. This is gonna be Nullhead and Nyte going off for now. Thanks for watching.
See you on the other side.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
You're opening, ain't you?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
And welcome to the second Hearthstone match of the evening. My name is Orbital. I'm joined here by Mick, of course, the man that runs the show pretty much here. You've been on air all the time and you've been enjoying it. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, dude. I'm making it by, and I'm just ready to close out my day with some Hearthstone, and then possibly, just see what the rest of the day has in store.
Yep, that's the hope. And of course, we do have in the emergence division here, coming in with our second match, we do have Mojo Jojo, for all you cartoon fans out there, versus, I believe, Rowan Cullum, or also goes by the God's Voice, coming in, I think, second place versus fourth place in the lower division.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, these guys right here, I'm not going to sit there by any means want to sleep on them. I mean, I know they are a little bit lower in the divisions as things stand, but I mean, we know the way card games work. We know the way Hearthstone works. If you're here, I mean, you most likely are affiliated with the fact that this is a game of RNG, but it's also a game of skill. So overall, without any kind of consideration, I've sit there and seen plenty of upsets and across plenty of divisions. So I'm super excited to see these guys and show that if they were to have a chance against these larger opponents today, then they will be able to show it by utilizing what they have in hand today to actually, have a pretty strong lead and get a pretty strong win over these guys. But looking at these decks so far, none of them feel like they're exactly going to break the meta and exactly throw everybody on their rear out here. But I feel like overall they're going to be just good enough for them to face against each other.
Yeah, and this is, one of my fun kind of thought processes is when you get into the higher divisions, you tend to follow the meta a lot more, right?
Yeah.
You tend to follow that hard cut outline of, hey, this is what works. This is what got me up to this point. This is how I climbed over the footsteps of others. But you're not really a true leader. You're not the pioneer of some of those inventions. Most of the time, you are copying someone else's. Here in the lower divisions, sometimes you don't have enough cards. Sometimes you don't have enough dust. Got to kind of make do with what you have. And sometimes that's also what breaks the mold. That's what gives off a lot of enjoyable action and some craziness that you can see. So I am excited to see what we can bring out here. So going through some of these, I know we have on Mojo Jojo's side, not really the world kick rogue that we normally see. We got the basic stealth rogue, which I know you've been playing a little bit, but any of these decks really stand out to you?
Well, I want to go ahead and establish before we start getting to these decks, we do have the actual ban match coming out, allowing us what decks we don't need to exactly talk about. So the God's Voice is going to be banning Paladin. So that's going to be Mojo Jojo's kind of whole Paladin archetype of what we call really a pure-ish Paladin in a sense. And then we see Mojo Jojo out here banning the Warrior. So both solid picks by these guys, really choosing those tempo picks, getting those later game things out of the way, and allowing us to see a lot quicker matches today overall, which I'm actually surprised, if you're trying to speed things up, and why you wouldn't go for the Priest, but when you're in the shoes of Mojo. But overall, I feel like this guy, he's probably pretty confident in his ability to face the likes of a Priest. So, it's purely up to him. But in terms of the rest of these decks, I mean, everything just seems run the mill, pretty standard from what we know. Hunter being a face hunter, and I can say that right now in this first match, we're already going to be seeing that because we have this Rowan's Murloc Paladin against Rowan's face hunter, because that just plays on the archetype of getting a lot of hero powers off. Playing the cards that have these death rattles when they die, you're still getting damage to the face somehow. So overall, just a lot of utilization in terms of death rattles and keyword effects. But when you really come down to it, sometimes it's not enough against the likes of a Paladin. But for Murloc Paladin, it could be the kind of curveball that Mojo's looking for, because, I mean, if you're facing a pure Paladin, man survives the turn 5, he's most likely going to be winning the match. But this is a completely different situation, completely different kinds of decks we're dealing with, as you said, in these lower elos. So we could be seeing something completely different.
Yeah, and also see people that just get kind of funny with it, is the best way I can put it. I enjoy watching a lot of these that kind of turn on their head. You're not expecting so-and-so to win. You're not expecting certain wins, right? Or certain people to be able to pull off those fantastical setups.
Yeah.
Is there a deck setup, though, that you would prefer not to see? Obviously, these guys will be playing multiple matches. They will be trying to face off against each other, of course. But is there one that you think and feel that might have a couple ones as we do get in? I'm very sorry. I think I unfortunately did not see that. So yeah, we will be underway, I believe.
Yeah, overall, when you're discussing the decks, I mean, if I'm talking about things I don't really want to see. Overall, that would have to put me in the shoes of being on the favorable side for one of these players. But I mean, if I'm talking about just what decks I really don't like and what I want to see, I mean, personally, I won't want to see Res Priest. The archetype hasn't played into it as much. Blizzard hasn't been really tickling his fancy, and he hasn't really had too much to play with so far. So when you really break it down and look at what Priests bring to the table, it's just a slow deck. You're waiting for 2 minions to get popped, and then you're just trying to resurrect them time and time again. And with this kind of version of the deck we got going on right now, and that we're being able to look at, it just doesn't feel like it has enough resources to actually keep reviving things. It just seems like you have 4 revives and you're just hoping to get those minions off on multiple occasions, which is super selective and super hoping for your draws, but even more so than like aggro. Aggro, you're hoping for a perfect 3 cards right there to start, get them out in the game. Meanwhile, with this, it's saying, all right, I need these 5 different cards, and it's not really going to do all that much. And I feel like that's the boring part of it. But, you know, the board that we're looking at right here isn't all that boring, because we're going to see Mojo trying to do as much as possible to get the board cleared out. He's going to be clearing out that Tide Caller, but he's going to leave McGurgle on the board, which, I mean, I understand it's the smartest choice, and especially having that pack tactics going down and, you know, getting triggered and giving that Eagle Horn bow a little bit more to play with overall. I could definitely understand where his reasoning is coming from. But I'm surprised, though, that right here the God's Voice is trying to retaliate that by playing a Zephyrus, which doesn't have a battle cry on it right now. So by no circumstances is he getting, you know, that whole Highlander effect off, getting that battle cry out to say, wish for the perfect card.
Always hoping to wish for the perfect card, as toxic reinforcements are called in by Mojo. Jojo already faced with a couple legendaries, but enjoying those 2 secrets that are laid out, I believe. That's going to be just utilizing a couple shots coming in. Already setting up, so 15 damage on the block, but again, Pallies tend, like you said, to have a little bit of trickery up their sleeve. That's going to be the secret pop with the explosive trap, knocking out the shield off of the Murder McGurgle. So he will be available to attack, but still getting some little raw damage and already dropping down that Taunted Circus Amalgam. And another pack tactics being utilized, so keeping a full board even though he has been attacked every so often. But he's running a little bit low on the resources there, only 2 cards in his hand.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked, though, that, you know, he didn't opt to go for, you know, throwing down the Zephyrus next, because when you're looking at the likes of Hunter Secret, you know that Freezing Trap is on the board. It's going to be an option. I mean, he's going to survive one right here, and he's going to hit the scales, which isn't exactly going to give enough aggro to these Murlocs for him to actually clear the board and have any kind of survival chances right here. But, you know, just breaking on that, if he did have that Zephyrus effect, this would have helped out a lot. He would have been able to get a heal off somehow, do something to help himself out, and increases his chances of survival. But he's not exactly in those shoes, unfortunately, because, you know, at this stage of the game, Mojo's going to clear it out. And I think that Zephyrus alone is what really closed that out and put us in a situation where, you know, God's Voice never got the chance to really breathe at all. He was getting pounded down. He didn't exactly have too many cards to throw out to give him a chance to retaliate. And any kind of trade that was made just didn't seem resourceful enough. So, you know, that's a completely predictable end right there when you see how these guys are playing it out. When you throw Zephyrus, you're technically throwing the game, and that's why we're going to be so happy to see him rotating out here soon. But overall, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot more that could have been done right there, and especially when you're facing the likes of Hunter, you have to think about survivability, letting him burn out those resources, because, I mean, a Hunter's only as useful as many cards as he has in hand, and once he's already dwindled himself down, at that point, if you have enough health to survive with, you're going to be usually locking him out.
Yeah, and with a quick little win, they are happy about that. And so we'll get into the next one right away, which I do believe is a beautiful face warrior, or not face warrior, very sorry. Actually, Mojo Jojo does have his warrior enabled. So that is going to be, yeah, the face warrior versus, I believe, that priest. And gonna be having a bit of fun. There's that shaman. I could not see it off the top of my head. Very sorry.
Yeah, it's what is it? So to refresh, Rowan's warrior was banned and Mojo Paladin was banned. So basically, I know what we see in game is these guys choosing those heroes, but it technically works in reverse. So as I referred to it earlier, it's almost like a gender reveal party. It's like just a little surprise for both players to where it's saying, yo, okay, surprise, you can't play this. So, but on that note, we do see what they're playing right now, and Warrior is going to be playing a Enraged Warrior of some kind, doing a lot of damage to himself, having those blood boils in there, getting those reduced rush minion costs. And my only issue with this is if by any chance Priest does get these resurrect cards, which he does already, and he has convincing infiltrators, he has the Sandhoof in hand, he has plenty of things to revive with that mass resurrection. If it gets to these later rounds and Warrior hasn't already closed this out, which he doesn't have a tendency to be very aggressive, you know, Warrior just doesn't have enough damage naturally to go ahead and put that pressure on early game unless you're playing a Pirate Warrior, which I get is kind of a blend of this and this deck. But when you're really breaking it down, when you look at Priest's hand compared to Mojo's right now, I mean, he's just going to have a lot more survivability. He's going to be able to get to those later turns, and I just see him possibly coming out with this one right here.
Yeah, and that's going to be a good attempt and hope. Excuse me. Again, because going 2-0 very quickly, closing out a lot of these decks that can have a lot of fire, and especially a late game deck like this, you can actually have a lot of complications if you're not careful. Nice little shields going up though. Quick DPS dropping down God's Voice to about 12 HP. But of course, we all know how priests work. 12 HP, 5 HP, 1 HP, no one really cares. Of course, as long as you got cards in hand, that's going to be a nice little drop of a taunted convincing infiltrator, which should be able to hopefully harness a bit of help. But a nice flutter of 5s will drop it down to 2, and only having 6 mana. This is actually already looking like game once again.
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually found all the resources to get on the board, and those buffs were a huge help in that regard when you really sit there and look at how he's going, how he's able to enrage and give that Shield of Honor to both minions to have that in hand. I mean, that's obviously going to be a great resource for the guy. Now, in this situation, God's Voice is going to have to find a way to increase his survivability, and you know, having 12 health, that's definitely going to help. And whenever you really break it down, he's going to have another one. Obviously, you know, Mojo is going to be looking to try and get rid of that as best as possible. But
I think that's
you know,
lethal already.
yeah, he instead he's going for lethal. And he's also going to level off of it. Man's a level 50 warrior now.
As soon as I saw, he had so many good cards in hand, and just sitting there, Mojo Jojo, like that's twice now that came out with what feels like a ridiculous win. These are like 5-minute wins here. Really, this is an absolute shellacking, if I have to say the least. And you have to be worried if you are God's Voice, realizing that running these late game decks is not faring well against possibly what is some of the most aggro decks I've seen thus far.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I mean, I can promise you with the likes of our player of the week last week being Nyte, I mean, this scratches the surface of aggro, because I mean, I know we may see like turn 7, turn 8 losses right here and wins, but I mean, that man was doing them like turn 4, turn 5. So I mean, those matches, you want to talk quick. Me and Coach Jim were sitting there like, we don't know what to do. This game literally ended in a quarter of the time as we expected. But maybe it could turn out the same way here today, only being about a third of what we expected if Mojo is able to pull this one out right here, which having a pretty fair start here on the board. Going for trade, surprisingly, which when you're facing the likes of a Murloc Paladin, you had those guaranteed hits with Rogue. You probably want to be, you know, you always want to be looking for face. I mean, I've been playing this deck on ladder myself these past couple of days, and I mean, overall, you just want to manipulate the fact that those minions aren't going to attack if they're in stealth. And now that it's open, he can then, you know, God's Voice can trade into that. So I think, you know, that was a missed opportunity for that 3 damage to go and put him at 24. But, you know, you can only do so much. So we're going to see the Crab Rider coming out here, really just trying to put something on the board to help clear these things out. That rush is going to be a huge benefit, and he's going to get only 1 damage off this turn. But, you know, a little by little, he could, you know, make his way to a first one in the series here.
Yeah, but a lot of 2s and 3 costs means that Mojo Jojo should have a nice bleed here. Gonna drain a little bit. Board is completely clear, and unfortunately, God's Voice again pulled that tip the scales so early on that he's sitting on only about 2 resources right now, and you can see him kind of fumbling. I would say a little bit. This is a very complicated measure, which is unfortunate. But again, it seems that he is just unlucky draws here with these massive late game scales. It happened also with the Priest. I believe he was sitting on all 4 through 8 costs and just couldn't lay anything out. So very unfortunate. We'll see if he can lay it out though, get those, survive long enough, as he's gonna get dropped a few times. Deadly Poison, gonna be given a little bit more, and that's gonna be a dolloping of pain.
Yeah, when you really break that down, I mean, that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. Doing all that math, I mean, I can't sit there and break it down that quickly for you because I haven't done math since 11th grade. But when you really come down to it, I mean, I'm surprised he didn't actually opt to go ahead and attack with the angling rod right there, because you do want to look for those combo pieces. You want, because that's how Murlocs play. They play off of each other out of hand. So you want to sit there and, you know, whatever effect you could possibly get theoretically when you're looking around and saying, okay, what are my possibilities here? That's exactly what he's looking for. He needs to be discovering those options a little bit earlier to give him, to broaden his palette a little bit, because he still, no matter what happens here and how well his board may be looking so far, he still needs to survive for 3 more turns. And when you had the likes and you're looking at a self-sharpening sword, which already has a huge buff in terms of damage, and it's only going to get worse from here, I mean, things aren't going to be pretty.
Yeah, and I'm gonna honestly say God's Voice, his win condition right now is literally hit 8 mana, and he's not gonna be given that chance. Like, this is all he's hoping for. Mojo Jojo, I feel, knows that. He's already played against this once. He played against it in the first round with the Hunter, so he knows exactly what to expect. Knows probably what's occurring right now, knows that God's Voice is sitting on an unfortunate hand dealt to him. And so scrambling and understanding that he has one shot to kind of close this out, win this in one of the fastest 3-0s if he can. And if that 8 mana comes about and Mojo Jojo has not drawn out or not kept at least some of those board clearing abilities, we might see some complications. But that's already 7-2 left on that weapon. So this could possibly be lethal in the next 2 turns if no shielding is coming out. And that could easily be game. That's actually 9. That is actually game, I believe.
That is a big game.
16 on the dot. That's all he needed. Oh, I think he might be dancing this just a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Tacked on the extra 3 damage, and that's it. 3-0 in about, I want to say 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned it. He said that he knew exactly what God's Voice was looking at. He knew that he already had an exact idea of what was in hand, but from playing it in that earlier matchup, he already knows how to counter. Sit there and just have better cards, play them in earlier rounds, establish yourself, get those early trades, and then say, all right, he's going to burn out pretty quickly, because I know his luck. It's not all that good. He's going to get a tip the scales in hand, and then I got from turn 2 to turn 8 to actually bully him. So, I mean, that's exactly what he did. He closed us out in what was just a super quick fashion here.
Brutal, to say the least. And that's one of those things that I always take a look at and just say, what went wrong? And you can blame a little bit of it on RNG, saying, hey, look, you know, he got a couple of bad hands, right? Sitting on 8, 7s, and 6s. On freaking turn 2, you're just sitting there crying. Your inner soul is bleeding. But that's something you also have to play. You have to plan with, it feels like, right?
Yeah, I mean, issue is with tip to scales, you never want that in your opening hand. So if you ever pull Murlocs and you sit there and have anything besides the tip to scales, even if you got to wait a turn or 2, I mean, I'd much rather wait a turn or 2 in the front end to go ahead and counter the opponent's board compared to saying, oh, let me sit there and wait a turn or 2. From turn 5 to turn 6, when he's still playing things, he's just getting things started. And I have nothing to play for, you know, until turn 8. So I think overall, you really have to manipulate those mulligans as best as possible and find a way to, you know, create a hand that actually works for you. And that never came around for Rowan. And it was a super unfortunate and a super quick kind of knockdown for him for how he got that played out for. And I'm surprised in no circumstances did he ever want to play the Shaman. Because, I mean, when you're playing Totem Shaman, you're trying to buff those stats. You're putting a little bit more minions on board. And nothing is exactly going to be too expensive. The only thing that he had in deck for that was like the likes of a tidal wave, and that would have given him a huge like wave clear. It would have given him a huge heal overall, allowing him to stay in the game for a little bit longer. But that's just not what it came around to. And I feel like he just wanted to go ahead and get that Paladin out of the way. And he said, if I can get it out right now, I mean, what's the point? So, you know, I understand where he came from. I get his thought process with it, but it just wasn't enough today.
No, it was not, and that is going to conclude the second match of course in record pacing. So Mojo Jojo, the evil villain with the plan, will continue moving up the emergence ladder, gonna be making his way into the upper bracket and see if he can run the show in the playoffs as well, and I'm very interested to see. However, God's Voice, going back to the drawing board, we'll see what he can do, and if he can get out of the middle of the pack / lower bracket half. Don't go anywhere. We're going to go to a very short intermission, but coming up at 8 p.m. EST, we'll have Coulter guys coming out versus Killer JV, so you don't want to miss that match, so don't go anywhere.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
I'm starting. And hello, everybody. Welcome to another match of Hearthstone. I know, it's been a minute since y'all have seen me, about maybe 30 minutes, so it's been a wait. But this time around, I am joined by Coach Jim. How are you doing, Coach Jim?
I'm not bad. Mick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. I feel like everybody in here's already kind of heard my whole spiel of, how my day's going. So I'm not exactly going to waste too much time with all of that. But, one thing I am here to sit there and spend some time on is, some Hearthstone today, looking at what these guys are up to, seeing what they're able to play, and looking at these matches so far and looking at these deck lists. I'm super excited for what we got going on. I mean, overall, we do have, it almost feels like we have two opposite ends of the spectrum with like one little outlier. Because we're looking at Coultergeist and we're looking at Killer JV's decks today, who are two opponents in the Challengers division. They are running, Coultergeist is running a lot slower kind of archetype today with the likes of a Control Warlock, of a Highlander Priest, of a Broom Paladin. So, I mean, you do have that Token Druid, which, I mean, we're seeing everybody run. But, with Killer JV, he's running your typical, more the run-of-the-mill kind of aggro setups with things like Druid, Broom Paladin, Stealth Rogue, just your run-of-the-mill kind of OTK Demon Hunter. And just overall, like a lot of pressure I'm seeing all around. So when you're really breaking it down, I mean, what are you looking for specifically with all these matchups?
I'm looking to actually see some Hearthstone. I know last week we had a match that went about 12 minutes, I think.
Yep.
So
We have one
I
of
would-
those today as well.
I'd like to see some Hearthstone. That's all I want to see. I'm not a picky man. I would like to see something go to round 10. I would like to see some combos come off. I would like to see some beef on the field. But otherwise, I'm not picky. I'm not picky. I'd like to see anything except Token Druid, just because I'm not a big fan of token decks.
Yeah.
But if you ban that, you don't ban something else. So I'm just looking forward to good Hearthstone. That's all.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you, and that's why I'm hoping I'm just like you. It gets to these later rounds where some beef actually can be established on the board, and it's looking like for the most part, only really Coulter guys is going to be the one who can actually bring out those resources that are going to be pretty beefy. Because I mean, when you run the likes of Highlander Priest, you get the Galakron out, you get the Murazon out, you get the Dragon Queen out. There's all kinds of different cards that Priest runs that are just so large, especially in the Highlander archetype, that allow you to put that beef on the board and allow you to establish yourself on the field and really put yourself in an overwhelming position, especially when you're facing the likes of, say, a Demon Hunter who's all about facing aggro. He can just buff out all that damage really with either his hero power with an Apotheosis, which is, a +2, +3 to any minion, and then giving it lifesteal as well, giving him a little bit more longevity for the course of the game. And Warlock also, Control Warlock is also going to be able to do that because it's a huge corrupt archetype. It sits there and plays out the fact that you want to get that Ticketus out, things of the likes of that. And I think, we had the full potential to see these beefy boards that you're mentioning. And speaking of beefy, we may be seeing some pretty beefy, bans right here. One of them actually being pretty huge because what it looks like is Killer JV is going to be banning the Control Warlock, and Coultergeist is going to be banning the Stealth Rogue. So we're going to see, obviously Coultergeist had to ban an aggro deck, so I'm happy to see one out of the pool, but when all the other 3 decks are aggro as well, it doesn't make all that big a difference. But Killer JV actually knocking out one of those slower archetypes, I think that's pretty huge. I'm surprised he didn't go for the Token Druid in this situation, because if you're running nothing but aggro, I'm surprised he didn't sit there and say, let's slow your game down a little bit. Let's give me the advantage where I can sit there and pummel you and completely bully you up until about turn 7. And then that's when you can start getting some real resources down on board. And, leaving Token Druid on the field when you don't have too much AoE in these decks, it's surprising, to say the least, that he actually left that about to, actually leave a game running.
I am Mr. Producer, yes. I'm just waiting for somebody to dive out of this ban game.
Yeah, they're playing it out for some reason.
They're playing it out here. They're playing out the ban game.
I don't think they got the memo saying we go. Get rid of it in turn 1. Okay.
I'm G, man. I'm G. But no, Mick, I agree with you. Without mass removal, letting the Token Druid through could be an interesting choice. However, you got to remember, it can only beat you once.
Yeah, that is true as well.
It can only beat you once.
So maybe JV, he's just throwing a little bit of teasing his way, possibly saying, we'll give you 1 game, theoretically, if you can get the right draws on me. But, besides that, I may be usually doing fairly well against the decks you got going on, and especially against the likes of a Control Warlock. I mean, I know that the destroy 3 minions, just the Cascading Disaster as a whole, that card alone is just so threatening. But it only gets threatening around turn 7 once you've actually gotten the Corrupt off twice. So, but overall, we are going to start with this matchup, hopefully at least knocking out somebody's Token Druid, because we're going to see both of them coming out already.
May the winds guide you.
Nature's blessings upon you.
So we're going to see these guys starting out with a nature studies from the likes of Coultergeist here. And I understand where he's coming from. When you're on turn 1, you never really have too much to play with, especially if you don't have a Gibberling to actually throw down the board and find ways to chain, which is also super advantageous when you run the likes of a coin in hand. But JV right here, he's going to be pulling a Guest Away, which I understand is, the best kind of decision out of what was laid out in front of him overall. You want to get those card draws when you're already behind, when you're facing somebody who goes on turn 2. You do get that extra card in hand included with that coin. So overall, you're going to sit there and want to play as much as possible, get your hand as flooded, and especially with Guess the Weight, that's a guaranteed card draw. Knowing the likes of Token Druid, I mean, if you get maybe a 1 or 2 cost like a Gibberling, you can safely say that the next card's going to be higher and get that second pull almost for free at that point. But he's going to opt for the hero power right here, trying to put some pressure on the board, because when you look at what he has in hand, I mean, you got those Dreamway Guardians. He just doesn't have too many buffs to play off of it just yet.
What's interesting is that Culture did not make a play turn 1 to set up a play here for turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that's a really great play there, because now board control just right there with the 3 Gibberlings and the 2 Dryads with the lifesteal. So I think that's a really good play. Could have played it on turn 1, but gets more use out of it on turn 2.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree, and I feel like with him throwing out bees right here, the best thing to get rid of is that Gibberling with Spell Burst, which we just saw him kind of eye for a second, because you do want to get as many bees on the field as possible to maintain that board control. But you also want to look at how influential it's going to be. Obviously, looking at those Crystal Dryads with the lifesteal, they have 2 health. So it's going to be 2 minions that you're sacrificing for the likes of 1, which when you're leaving that Gibberling on the field by any chance, and he doesn't have enough mana hero power on top of that, he's not going to be able to clear that out. And, you know, overall, that's just kind of what he has to look at right now, because when you're looking at like the Culture guys, he already has a Savage Roar in hand. He doesn't exactly have any real buffs yet, but he does have a Fungal Fortune, so look for that if need be. But how it's looking so far, I mean, he's going to already be able to get it down, Killer JV, at least to half of his health with the Savage Roar in hand.
Gonna go for the +1/+1 there.
Interesting choice there, because now he has a Solar Eclipse with the Savage Roar. Not enough mana for it yet, so he still has to leave enough minions on the board just like this for turn 5. So possibly I would suggest like a Rising Winds coming out or something the likes of that, but he's going to go ahead and offer the Savage Roar here.
He's gonna go early.
But on top of that, he does still have that Gibberling out, so he has plenty to play with. He can, as long as Killer JB doesn't have, if he casts that bees on it in the second turn, that's okay, because he's still going to have plenty to work with on board. He's going to be able to pop 2 Rising Winds next turn. And I would have said he would have been able to combat that into a Solar Eclipse, then that Savage Roar, but it didn't seem like he really wanted that combo to go off, and he never got the opportunity to really, you know, throw it out there. So I understand where he's coming from, but, you know, JV's going to be going to retaliate as much as possible right here, but
there it is.
Just get that second Savage Roar. So regardless of what does happen overall in this stage of the game, I'd probably be throwing out both those Rising Winds, getting 2/3/2 Eagles off of that.
He's going to draw a card.
Offer the draw overall, because I mean, if you get that set up, you have 2/1/2s to trade into these bees right here. That's a Gibberling, and that's a +6 for every single one of the minions you have on board, or +4, excuse me. And when he's already sitting at 20 health, you don't need all 7 of those minions to actually maintain your lethal. You can easily do that with 4.
I'm keeping the pressure on though. Like, I kind of like that he's playing this for early. He's not waiting for like the big combo. He's kind of just keeping his foot on the gas. You know, he's not putting his foot to the floor, but just a good steady acceleration here.
Yeah, I mean, because look at this setup right here. If you see that the bee trades into one of those minions by any chance, he's still going to have 3 left. And when you really break it down, if he opted for that Eagle instead of going for a Starfall, he would have theoretically had 4 minions still on board for this next turn right here, which, I mean, albeit he doesn't have the benefit of seeing both sides of the board, and you know what JV has. He could be scared of a Solar Eclipse or something. But when you already get to this turn, you're already looking back in rear view and saying, I might have messed up there, because I could have put a lot more pressure down.
But here's the thing though, like getting that extra card, he now gets, you know, 1 more card closer to what he's looking for in his deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that.
But I mean, when you're looking at Druid, you're really just trying to get boards down, and you're looking for both those Savage Roars. And I know this is a Rune Terror, as we mentioned before, where you get 3 copies of a card in your deck, you only get 2. So I mean, he has both those Savage Roars available to him. He's already used 1, and he has the second one now. And it looks like he's going to go out with this combo with only 3 minions down, which, when you really break it down, that's 4, that's 5. That's going to be 14,
Close,
21.
it's there. He's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. There it is.
So, Coulter not being the very aggro-based guy in this matchup, surprisingly winning the first mirror-to-mirror matchup for the aggro today, which is going to be just overall, I mean, what a start, because at this point, he's only going to be playing those control decks, and if he plays it just as well, if not from my point of view and how I talked about him in that last match, even better, then, I mean, he has more than enough room to work with the deck archetypes he's playing with to actually win this. But as we said, put those big minions down on board and really establish huge lead and just kind of curb stomp JB here.
Yeah, no, I'm finally going to disagree with you on something. I liked the early play. I liked the early play, getting the setup there, knowing that he could deal with a lifesteal coming off the minions. Just getting them low, like it just becomes a 3-turn combo instead of a 2-turn combo. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with taking an early lead, especially if you know your opponent's deck list and you know they don't have any way of getting that health back. I'm okay with that. So I will for once disagree with you, Mick. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often.
Albeit. I appreciate it. Finally, some competition, somebody with a different point of view rather than, yeah, you know what? You worded that perfectly. I appreciate it, but
not a problem.
We are mentioning lifesteal, and we're talking about these guys, you know, maintaining board and finding ways to stay alive. Coultergeist is actually going to be running this Highlander Priest now, trying to see if he can knock this out, which is obviously the matchup I've been super excited for, really looking forward to. And starting out with the Renew and with, you know, an Insight, that's just a lot of card draw right there. That's a lot of potential to be, you know, revolving your hand as much as possible and kind of rotating everything out while still getting resources down. So I'm really looking forward to what he could accomplish with this starting matchup right here, because I mean he's got the resources in hand, especially being able to next turn to that Nizami Bloodweaver. I mean, that's a 2/5 for 3 cost. That's such an insane card, and just in terms of stat lines alone. And if that can stay up for a round, he could pop that Renew, get a discount on plenty of spells in hand, and just all around just have plenty to work with going forward, especially when he just corrupted that Insight with that.
Oh yeah. So we'll see what comes of this here. Killer JV taking their time on this one here. They want to make sure they get this one right.
Should I cannot wait to read these.
Crab Rider really only being the move right here. I mean, when you need that rush, you need that 2 damage, and it just perfectly fit in there with the 4 damage. Being enough for lethal for the Crab Rider, but overall giving him those stats to actually clear out, you know, that Bloodweaver. I mean, that's exactly what JV needed, because if you let that hang him by any chance whatsoever, I mean, he's going to be getting a lot of discounts from this. But we got to see exactly how Priest maintains his Veilweaver right here. Inner Fire, which is a great startup right there. Using the Renew on him is also kind of a pretty, I want to say, interesting move, because you're not exactly getting that heal off, but he does get 2 spells instead of 1 out of that. And then next turn, if he can get that feast off for it, I mean, he's most likely not going to, with both these Auto Tenants having more than enough stats to clear that out and it get a little bit of face damage. But overall, that massive spell is going to be huge going forward, because you know when you're facing a Paladin, you're going to be dealing with a lot of keywords, you're going to be dealing with some buffs. And if you can clear those out, especially those Librams that go down on these minions, that's also going to nerf Lady Liadrin technically, because that's going to be less for her to rejuvenate, because you're not casting it over and over and over again.
Double Inner Flame got picked up there.
That's a stinker. I'm sorry.
It could be worse.
That's good overall, but I mean, when you're looking at the likes of what exactly are in Priest's hands for those 1 mana cost spells, I mean, when you had the likes of Renew, and when you have things of like, you know, just to recover 5 health or recover 3 health and then get a discover spell, I mean, it's definitely not the worst overall, but I mean, there's just a lot of better options out there, and the fact that both of them were that Inner Fire, I mean, that's got to be disappointing for Coultergeist here. He's gonna have to find a way to get those off, but I mean, he already got his Veilweaver out. If he had a second copy of that, that would have been awesome for the man. So there's that
What Culturegeist really needs right now is some minions.
Yeah, I agree, but I think he's sitting pretty fine in terms of what he has to work with. I mean, dude has a Breath of an Infinite. He can knock that out. He has a Mass Dispel, so if anything gets too big for him, it's not going to be based off pure stats. It's mostly going to be based off these buffs and everything laid out in front of him. So he needs to go ahead and start healing up right here and finding a way, as you said, to find some board control overall because, I mean, I'm with you. He does have the Hysteria, though, which is going to be a huge player later on because
Here's the thing. He's got a lot of great stuff in his hand, but if he has no board presence, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah,
he needs a little bit of board presence.
But sometimes that's exactly where Priest's strengths kind of show because Priest has so much board control just without it. I mean, when you look at his hand alone, he has a Soul Mirror next turn. So, I mean, he can duplicate all the minions on board and get the same effect, same buffs, everything off of that. And then he has a Breath of the Infinite to deal that 2 damage to all minions on board. Then he has the Mass Dispel, the Hysteria, which he can choose one of JV's minions, which will probably be good to do on this Devout Pupil if he doesn't Soul Mirror right here, to trade into all those others, basically killing everything and just leaving 4 damage left. So, I mean, when you really break it down, this is one of the areas where Priest actually excels and loves to be in because he can sit there and just bully everything and say, I don't even have a board. So what are you going to do?
I'm with you, but without a board, like you're not a mage. You don't have as many straight to face spells as a mage. Eventually you're going to need something. It's something at some point in time.
Which when we really break it down right here, when you're looking at Priest, I mean,
there we go.
Yeah, if he will, I mean, that was a good draw for him. If he was looking to go ahead and get anything else down, he also could have possibly Soul Mirrored to get the Death Rattle trigger off that Salhet's Pride, but he's not running any 1-cost minion, so that's not going to help him out because, I mean, looking at everything else, nothing else in his deck has 1 cost, so he wouldn't have gotten that Death Rattle trigger. Otherwise, Soul Mirror would have been the play there. But him finally getting something on board, he has plenty of potential to kind of run it out right here, get some stuff going down. And, you know, if he wants to mess with Killer JV here, I mean, his hand isn't all that strong when you really look on it from the Paladin side. He could Mind Render this, get a 1-3 down, as well as get one of JV's Libram of Hopes down. Actually, no, excuse me, those Libram discounts don't work for Priest. It's a hero aura instead of an actual, like, card aura.
Looking at the fact that if you know what you're going against here, you know you're going against this Priest step, you know there's Libram of Hope, I would save the Soul Mirror for those. That's what I would be saving those for. That's why that's what I would assume.
Yeah, I think that's what he's waiting on as well. That's a safe play for him.
Super safe play, because you might not have any other way of getting rid of those quickly.
Yeah.
So that's got to be...
he's going to play. Because when you really break it down right here, I mean, it'd be great for him to get both those Libram of Hopes down if Killer JV does go down by any chance. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet is Killer JV does go to my school. So I know this guy personally, and I know that he's not dumb enough to sit there and play both of those Libram of Hopes in one turn. He's going to be allocating them out, knowing that this Priest most likely has a Soul Mirror. And if it actually comes down for a 1-1 and 1-4, I'm not going to know what to think because I see Culture Guys hovering over it, but that wouldn't be the play, Chief.
I must consider.
This is going to be interesting right here.
Please don't. Please, no, you're messing with us. I understand you need a board, bro, but you don't need one that desperately. Oh, wow. No.
Well, okay.
Okay.
And then you could, okay, well, and now that, it's a 3/6, now the Inner Flame would make it a 6/6, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you just keep giving it, if you give it another boost before you give it the Inner, okay, so that could get, like the Apotheosis into an Inner Flame is now really good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
I agree.
That would now be super good.
That's a lot of resources to use for one card, though. Especially for
it is a lot of. Don't get me wrong. It is a lot of resources. At the same time, though, I mean, it gives you a pretty beefy minion on the field. So we shall see. Oh,
That
there it is.
Galakrond is such a top deck for him right here to
There
wipe
it
out
is.
the 8/8, give him enough resources to still be playing down on the board. That's gonna be pretty huge. My thing is, once you go for Galakrond, you do lose that overall healing hero power. So with the Apotheosis, thankfully he has a little bit of stats there to give him those heals back. It's not going to exactly be exactly enough because he will be losing out from the inner fire, as you said. But with the Barov coming out here, this is going to be great for him, for Killer JV.
And he could still inner flame next round if that minion's still there.
I completely agree.
So
I doubt it's going to, though, with Barov and you have a Pinflinger in hand. He's most likely just going to do that to it.
However,
throw it down.
However, the lifesteal was huge there.
Yep.
Because he did bring back, what, 10 health?
Yeah.
And
with the 5 armor from Galakrond, he's technically right back to full.
Yeah, he's right back. He's right back where he needed to be. With that being said, some big plays there. The Libra Majestus coming out was a big play. Because that's the lifesteal on the side of Killer JV.
But if we actually see this 6 cost coming out, seeing what he gets first, I get that play, you know, running blood.
Did
first.
he just get that? Is that the random he just got?
That is indeed.
Jeez.
So there's that beef I was mentioning earlier that comes from playing that Highlander pre-deck.
Top decking like a pro.
Or Kronk's wasn't the top deck. Blood of Goon was.
Oh,
So
my
that's a
apologies.
9 cost 8/8 that has taunt that summons a 5/5 copy from your deck. Kronk's, the only thing that generates from Galakrond's hero power isn't going to be neutral cards. It's only going to be priest related class
Fair.
cards.
My apologies. Still, that's a great random draw there.
Yeah.
Sick random draw.
I'm not sure exactly what JV has in this circumstance to really deal with that. I mean, besides a Libra of Hope and an animated broomstick, but that's going to be a lot just to deal with this one thing. And he still could throw down Aldor Truth Seeker right here and then still have enough mana with that Libram discount to get that off. But at this stage in the game, do you really want to go for that? Because, I mean, when you're breaking it down, that's not all that good of a play overall, because you're using he no matter what happens right here, it looks like he's going to be using half of his hand.
Yes.
Probably going to find a way to get those Pinflingers off. Sit there and use that first day of school, get the other 2 off. Good play. Probably going to be using them again, then using his using his weapon to trade into Kronk's right there to get a board clear, hoping that those Pinflingers survive another round. But at this stage in the game, Priest, I mean, you're really just playing right into his hand. Man's got a Blood of Goon in hand. He's got, you know...
Well, and he can just plague if he really wanted to. Just,
yeah,
he's got 2 plagues.
He's got all kinds of things to work.
There, the plagues exist.
Yeah, and when you're playing with that, especially when you have 2 in hand, to go ahead and get those Pinflingers off the board and guarantee that they're going to be out of the game here, that will be a safe bet. But instead, Culture Guy's going to be going for the Blood of Goon.
And board presence, nothing wrong with board presence. That's some beef. That's some beef there.
Especially having that Pinflinger come back into hand once you cast that Libra of Justice. That's going to be huge right here and such a big help.
But now, oh man, the plague now is just debilitating though.
Yeah, it's looking a lot better. It's looking real juicy, and at this point, if you're in the shoes of Culture Guy, especially when you save that one last turn, it's like, heck, I got to burn one this turn. This is going to be too good to miss.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is definitely a plague. Yeah, there it is.
Now that dormant minion, albeit, is going to be the only thing surviving, because when it's dormant, nothing actually triggers a dormant minion. Like no kind of spell interacts with it at all. It just purely does nothing besides take board space for the most part. So having that liberal wisdom in hand is going to be nice, though.
Here's the problem right now, though. If you're Killer JV, you have no hand.
Yep.
You've played everything. I mean, Culture guys, all he has to do is play perfectly, and he's fine.
And speaking of perfect, he's going to wish for the perfect card. So I mean, that shouldn't be all too hard for the man right now.
The Forging? The Forging?
I would say the Cabal Shadow Priest, and that'd be great to go ahead and take that that minion, that 2/5. You leave JV with 1 minion. No matter what happens, he's going to have those cards in hand that he already has, or even better yet, the Silver Hand. Get that Libram away for him. Don't let him play it anymore, because Lady Liadrin is somewhere still in this deck, and if he has a Silver Hand Paladin, he could technically be buffing that up to about the likes of a 9/9 every turn if he does get enough of these Librams off. So, for him to go ahead and get that out of the way is going to be great for him, especially when he can spam that ping flinger over and over and over again with those Librams. It's going to be a great shot overall, but at this stage of the game, how much is it going to be really? Because, I mean, I don't think it's just purely a lack of Killer JV's hand. I think it's also just an overwhelming aspect that Culture Guy's hand brings to the board. When you've had that Zephyrus in hand, now you have a Dragon Queen Alex Strauss as well. And that's just so many free resources at this stage of the game once you've let him survive for this long.
Well, and once again, if he really wanted to, he could just Plague again. Wait a minute.
True as well.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing about the Harrison Jones card. Gotta laugh on that one, right?
Yeah. It's a shame he pulled it so late, though. It would have been really great against that corrupted weapon, which JV got so much value out of. But it's a little bit late of a draw there. But nonetheless, I mean, it can show up whenever. He's like, I've been chilling up to this point. I'm surviving. He may be sitting at 30 health, but he definitely doesn't have a hand to play with. So, Pinflinger Justice, probably? Is that what he's going to go for here? No, he's just going to keep on pinging face right here. So he will get 1 free clear, 2 actually, with that Ethereal, but using these last 2 resources right here, I mean, you do get a board clear, but you also get a hand clear, technically.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is if this board doesn't stick, which with the Plague of Death, I mean, that could just be salt in the wound. And, I mean, that could just close out the game entirely. Unless he pulls a Lady Liadrin. If JV pulls a Lady Liadrin within these next 2 turns, depending on what Culture Guys throws down, he has more than a chance. But with that Skeletal Dragon, that's going to be more and more resources for the man. And well, I just don't know what to do at this point for old JV.
Yeah. And yeah, here we go. And the lifesteal, all about the lifesteal. This is the kind of game I was looking for, though. A long, drawn-out game.
So he does get the Lady Liadrin off. He gets most of his stuff back. He gets a Pin Flinger, and he's going to have plenty of things to spam around and play with to ping down that face. Buffing out that lifesteal he just got triggered. But, also having plenty of card draws right here, because if he casts those Blessing of Wisdoms on either one of these minions, he's going to be getting more cards along that. And, I mean, overall, I feel like this is going to be worth it, but he doesn't offer that at all. And, I mean, he doesn't really have too many more minions left either, because, I mean, that Hand of Aldar, that's going to be great. I mean, don't get me wrong, this Lady Liadrin is awesome, but it purely comes down to this point on how he plays it in order to, keep on toppling Priest, because Priest at this point, if he hasn't already established a board, he's going to be playing nothing but these big minions over and over again. So that's going to use most of his mana. So he's going to be getting 1 big minion down a turn.
Oh, man.
While JV's going to be finding a way to shut it down.
That's an Inner Flame play right there, though. Turning that Skeletal Dragon into a 10/10. That's a play right there.
He's going into fatigue now, too. That's why he didn't pull that Blessing. Okay, then. I see where you're sitting at now, JV. Sticky shoes.
This is gonna get disturbing. This is gonna get bad before it gets good.
What is the demo on this? So it's Light's Wisdom. He's going to keep Pain Flingering that, I'm sure, with all these free spells he's going to be getting.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think he missed a huge play right there. Now, hear me out. If he traded that Silverhand Paladin into that Skeletal, that would have given him 2 more Light's Wisdoms to work with. That would have been 2 more damage from Pinflinger, and he would have been able to buff Lady Leadrin with that. No matter what, he was getting that buffed out damage. But instead, he just missed 2 spell casts and 2 Pinflingers with that because we saw him opt for Hero Power instead.
Now, at this point, does he... I think you have to Plague here, though, right?
You have to.
Have to Plague.
Absolutely have to.
Yeah, gotta Plague. Now, the nice thing is that no, he's got another Libram in his hand.
He actually has lethal with this, with the Libram.
Oh yeah, yep. So that's just unfortunate. I thought Culture Guys played that fairly well.
That's the biggest trade-off you get. He didn't play that Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, and as I said earlier, that Plague of Death, which if we go back to those early turns, mentioning where that Plague of Death came into turn, where he played that Blood of Goon instead. Yep. I mean, he used it right there, but if he used it on that first turn, getting both those Pinflingers out, like I said, they are not a card to joke around with. They're technically a soft taunt. You want to get those out of the way as quick as possible. Otherwise, I say ignore the hero up until that point. So, and it just came back to bite him in the butt. So we're going to have to see that again because, I mean, we're now sitting at a 1-1 in the series, and JV's going to have to, like, you know, it was a great play by him because, but more likely, I feel like it was just some hiccup on Culture Guys' part because I think he just really slipped on the potential of the Pinflinger. When we see that, I think that's a lesson learned from him saying, okay, this game purely just got lost over a 1 card, over a 1 cost 1/1. Like, are you serious, man? So I feel like going forward, he's going to sit there and finally realize if I get a chance to wipe both of them out, I'm going to freaking do it.
Oh, yeah. Because they said that they did the majority of the damage. I mean, he had lifesteal. He was catching life back. He probably ended up taking about 67 damage that game and still found a way to lose.
Which, I mean, that's also the huge downside of Galakron. You get all these great draws, but you also lose that potential of healing yourself every single round. And if you don't get any cards that heal yourself, especially when your 5 cost, your Cabal Spellkin doesn't give you any more heals, a renew or something to work with, I mean, you don't have all that much to play with. We saw the Inner Fire come in, but that was from way on earlier where he could have pulled the likes of renew and healed himself even more, putting him out of that lethal range.
Not the greatest hand for Culture Guys here. Not a terrible hand, but not the greatest hand.
If he can get around to turn 3, he'll have a free little reset overall. I think things will get easier from there. But with the aggro of Demon Hunter, you know, usually that's always an issue, is saying how much can he do in that time. And when we have the benefit of looking at Killer JV's hand right now, it's going to be, it's not going to really matter all that much. He's going to be hero powering you every single turn, but his card's also going to be 3 until he pulls the Spirit Jailer right here, but that can't really attack immediately, so it's not going to be all that big a deal. So coming down with the Sathel's Pride, I understand that. Getting some more minions on the board, finding a way to establish yourself a little bit. He's got a second one, but, you know, you only have so many 1 health minions in your deck. So when he comes around to this next turn, I mean, Lord knows what he's going to do, because as we see, it really comes down to what he pulls off that Salhets. But at this point in the game, JB's also going to have a lot to be working with. He can go ahead and set up a little bit more with those with those soul fragments, having that marrow slicer in hand, or he could sit there and opt for the lifesteal, which I feel like it's better yet to just go for the marrow slicer here. I mean, you're not going to get enough lifesteal to really trigger that off. Let the Salhet, you know, charge into you. He's going to be looking to trade that if he doesn't have the right hand right now. So instead of getting that 3 damage to face, he's going to be saying, all right, let's, sustain the board a little bit. Let's get some more resources out here and find a way to, even out the odds right now. But instead, he's going to be opting for the Aldor Truth Seeker, which is a much better play, albeit because it does get that taunt down. It gives something for that Marrow Slicer to trade into, while still, buying a little bit of time if you can get that Sow Hat traded out, which he did.
Well, and now Culturegeist has a Penflinger to play with. And we know how good that card is.
Going to get this next weapon out right here, getting the life still up, because now after trading that Marrow Slicer twice, JV has taken a little bit of damage. But if he can get around to turn 7 with the Soul Collegist in hand and how many Soul Fragments he has right now, that is a full board. That's a 5/5 and 6 3/3s right there to just go ahead and flood out. And when you're in Culturegeist's situation and you have no kind of Libram of Wisdom or Libram of Justice, to play with, on top of a Consecrate, I mean, that's going to be a really sticky situation overall. And he only has 1 turn to pull that out. He does have the Libram of Hope, which is going to help him, but is it going to be enough? Is the real question.
Culturegeist top decking like a pro. There are folks at home, if you don't know, step 1, think of the card you need. Step 2, draw it, and that's how you top deck like a pro.
Hey, maybe he's not going to opt for it. He's going to get these Penflingers down. So I feel like that's going to be huge going forward, because now if JV still doesn't pull another Soul Fragment right here, he has a full board flood. He has 27 health to work with. And if that Libram of Hope does come down next turn, he's going to have a free way to clear it out. And he doesn't actually get one of those. So that's perfect for him. And the next turn, if he needs a board clear by any chance, he can play that Marrow Slicer into the Soul Shatter and have a free damage everywhere, really. Especially now that weapon just destroyed in hand. Libram of Justice being burned. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I like the Shoes of Culturegeist right here burning that.
Here we go, though. Gotta, man, where's the plague now? Now is a great time for a plague. Would love to see a Dominate right here.
Blade Dance. Oh, he's not, by no means is he going to pull that Soul Shatter. That would destroy all these 3/3s he has on board. That's not the play overall. He may be looking at the Skull of Gul'dan because he will have 2 remaining mana left after he casts that. So, there's plenty to work with overall, even with that gone and with the Twin Slice and with the Chaos Strike. He doesn't exactly have enough mana, unfortunately, for that Blade Stance, because if he did, I mean, that would be enough to wipe that off the board right now and give him all that free face damage.
I don't quite know about that play there. I mean, I don't know.
Definitely an awkward order and choice of events, because when you're looking at a Twin Slice that costs 0, you're not getting the full discount off that. With the Chaos Strike, you most definitely are, because you actually do get that 3. You get a 3 discount on a card that costs 2. You're getting a little bit more of your value, but that Twin Slice, you're only getting 1 mana off because it's only a 1 mana card.
Oh, drawing Libram of Hope yet again. That's kind of dirty. Drawing a Penflinger. Everything they need, they have drawn.
Yep.
Culturegeist putting on a clinic of how to top deck.
Oh, no. That actually... Okay, never mind. With the Blade, I could understand where he's coming from. I was going to say he could have ramped the living stew out of that Brazen Zealot right there. Just playing that Penflinger over and over and over again, possibly getting that to the likes of an OTK card if he lets it survive long enough. But he didn't let it stick by any means because he doesn't have all that many buffs in hand to really work with. But with Culturegeist already pulling that earlier Lady Liadrin, much earlier than JV did, then he's going to have plenty of Librams going forward to play with if he gets enough of them off to actually get that Hope out. So he has 2 more of those to work with. If he can get a couple more buffs down, that'd be great for him. Issue is he did burn that Libram of Justice. So I mean, that's not going to be perfect, but I mean, it only sits there and triggers for things that you cast on your friendly characters. So Libra Justice wouldn't exactly be, you know, brought back in this pool, but albeit it would be nice that, I'm sure, if you were him, to kind of have something like that.
Ooh. All right. That's there you go.
In the dual pinflinger right there. Okay. So now that we're looking at Il'gynoth right here, he's already used that, you know, that Blood Strike. He's already used that +2. So now that you're looking at Il'gynoth overall, and if you don't have a lifesteal weapon, I mean, that's a tough situation to be in, because Il'gynoth, that one card right there alone, when you have that lifesteal weapon and you're able to kind of chain that up and do plenty of damage with it, I mean, that's huge overall, because it allows you to have so much to play with, and it's usually your OTK condition. But at this point in the game, with, you know, having that in hand, not having all your resources and using your attack to clear out that 8/8, you don't have as much to play with this time around, but he does have a strong board going forward and getting 9 damage on face. So I mean, overall, there is enough here to play with in JV's case, because I mean, Culture can't get that Lady Leadrin down and get that other Libram down on this turn alone. So he's going to have to find something to play with, and it possibly be in this Libram of Justice with those 2 pinflingers.
Could be big.
Blade Dance will clear both of those out right here with just that hero power alone. But good ordering overall from JV, opting possibly for the School of Gul'dan right here. Go ahead and get it up, because you're still going to have enough for that hero power and that Blade Dance. Yep. So, you know, sit tight, get comfy. You're going to have plenty to work with. You got plenty of time to play with. Overall, it's really unfortunate you can't exactly get lethal this turn from the looks of it, because I mean, when he's sitting at 9 damage, I mean, it's just super tempting to get that over with, but you know, it just out of grasp, because he knows that these other 2 Libram of Hopes are going to be coming down here possibly this turn, or at least over the course of these next 2 turns.
Man, that could be real interesting, playing 2 Libram of Hopes in the same turn. Just the health alone.
Another interesting choice, though, albeit, is leaving the Pinflinger out. He just missed the damage from Pinflinger to go face with that before recalling it. Another issue is, you know, when you're sitting in these shoes overall, you don't get the full potential out of these all doors beforehand and get as many Librams the second time around after you've already casted it. But, I mean, from the case of it, though, I don't think Culturegeist is really too stressed, because usually within these mid-game situations, it gets right to 10 mana. I mean, so far, Culturegeist has looked great. It's been a very close back and forth up until turn 10. There hasn't been really any too big kind of cutouts so far. And Culturegeist usually has the upper hand around 10 mana. But it just seems as if JV is a lot better at playing his late game aggro, because he doesn't get those early close offs, doesn't use all of his resources to get those early kills. It gives him a lot more to work with in the late game, and he utilizes it to go for control more than actually going aggro. And I feel like that's the biggest kind of thing that helped him out that last game. Especially, it could come out and, you know, be the determining factor for him to possibly win this in this game. Especially having that Kayn in hand, he doesn't even need to worry about the 8/8 if he can find enough damage in hand by some chance.
True. If he doesn't, though, then he does. If he doesn't find it in his hand, then he really does have to worry about that 8/8, with the knowledge that there's a second one in hand here for Culturegeist.
Yeah,
and the healing. And the healing. If you don't get rid of him now, the healing is going to erase whatever you do to you.
So
the healing at this point is pretty decent.
Yeah, Kane's going to allow him to ignore all taunts on the board. But issue is, I mean, I understand the 5 right here, but you don't have any lifesteal in hand, buddy. Why do you eye that Il'gynoth? So he's going to be looking at the Spirit Jailer right here, finding a way to do as much damage as possible onto the board. But without that Kayn, it looks like he's going to have to possibly take that damage to the face, not even killing that Protector right there, giving him another free 8 damage, and looking at maybe That's lethal technically. You do the 4 with that consecration overall and the weapon in hand.
Yeah.
10, 13. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's...
Especially with the Lemurs as well. And a Hand of Aldor, he's fine.
Yeah.
Culture oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, if he misses lethal this turn, I'm going to scream. Y'all will hear Mick squeal like a pig if he actually does not win this right here.
And he's still got time.
Do you need a blessing?
I mean... Wow!
Are you kidding me?
Wow! And Mick is losing his mind, folks. Mick is losing his mind. He's out of his chair. He's running in the background in circles. He doesn't know what's going on. You can hear him in the background. I'm trying to cover the profanity. No, he's not cursing. That's just me making a joke. Here we go. He's taking off a sweatshirt. He's too hot right now. He cannot believe what is going on right now.
I can't understand this.
He cannot believe what is going on right now. And Killer JV might find a way to take this.
I mean, regardless of him conceding, I mean, you could have ended that a turn early. Don't give the man a chance. I mean, you even said it. Culture guys, he knows how to top deck. Maybe JV had his top deck moment.
Wow. And I don't know, Culture guys got really, really lucky there because all JV needed was one card. It could have been the end. Could have been the end.
Yeah.
Are you all right? Are you all right?
Dude.
Are you back?
Dude.
Are you all right?
Dude, hey, any Hearthstone player in the NECC, I'm not doing personal branding, but I've played the game. I've reached like, legend before. So if y'all need coaching, I'll do it for free for like your first 10 sessions because this is atrocious, dude. I am like, it's needed. These guys are missing lethal when they shouldn't be. That was huge right there. I mean, overall, as we said, that could have changed the game.
And at that point, it's just math. It comes down to math.
I haven't done math since the 11th grade, and even I noticed that.
You play Hearthstone. You've been doing math for a while.
So do they, man.
That's what I'm saying. Well, don't say you haven't done math since the 7th grade. If you play a collectible card game like this, you do math all the freaking time.
I mean, I do simple addition, albeit. So yeah, that's all it really comes down to. I'm not doing quadratics or anything, but
in the words of Nelson Muntz, that's math? I just thought it was business.
Oh my goodness. Okay, early Zephyr Straw right here. That's going to help out Coulter guys. He's announcing at this game he could have already won the series 3-0 if he opted for the Plague of Death earlier, like we said. Issue is he's probably going.
Let's go back. Having lethal in hand is one thing. We can't say on turn 6 if that play would have won him the game. So let's not go back there, Mick. Come on now. You're better than that. Let's not go all the way back there.
Maybe getting a little carried away after that last play.
Missing lethal in hand is one thing, but RNG, you can't go. We don't know. If he plays Plague there, that might change the RNG. We don't know. We do not know. So let's not go start throwing stuff out there.
But, okay, so we'll put that in the past. But total the present, a great little acidic swamp boost right here. But when you're looking at things going forward, when you're facing this Demon Hunter matchup and you have that Galakron in hand, if I am in Coulter Guys' position, Galakron may not be a move this game. It may just be a void card because under no circumstances with the Demon Hunter constantly putting that pressure on you, do you want to find a single avenue or a single turn where you're not healing yourself with your hero power? And if he opts for Galakron, that's a great 5 armor right there overall. Maybe in late game where you can get the healing off, then get the Galakron down to give you that 7 health that turn. But so far, he doesn't need to sit there and let the RNG play against him. He needs to increase his likelihood by giving the game as little chance as possible to mess with him.
You see, I agree with you there, but late game, that could absolutely be the play. It could be a great combo late game to keep himself alive.
Yeah.
You know, because let's be honest, the difference between armor and healing, nothing.
Yeah.
There isn't. So it's 5 instead of 2. And yes, is it a lot more expensive? It is, but it is 5 instead of 2.
Yeah. And I feel for late game that would absolutely be, an option for him because if he finds a way to get that early hero power from Anduin and then get the Galakrond on. That's 7, as I said. So I feel like that's what he should be eyeing. Instead of looking at Galakrond early for saying, oh, I can get plenty of, big cards out of this. That's not what you need to be looking at in this Demon Hunter matchup, buddy. JB's going to be punishing you all game. He's going to find a way to get damage onto your face every single turn, at least. So you need to find a way to just maintain yourself, keep those heals down. And when he has the likes of a Zephyrus in hand to give him those heals in the late game, whenever his health reaches a low threshold, when he has that Renew in hand, he has plenty to work with right now to give him time to survive, because he has another win con almost right now in hand, which would be the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, which gives him 2 dragons in hand that have a 1 cost to them. So there's almost unlimited potential for that to allow him to possibly get 24 on the board. So, I think it really at this stage, that Krunks is also a huge help, because I don't know if you know all the effects for it. You've already seen that 8/8 dragon come out, but another effect of Krunks when you have Galakrond out as a follow-up turn to that combo we mentioned is deal 5 damage to the enemy hero, heal yourself for 5. So that's another thing that could allow him to survive a little bit longer, giving him something to work with.
And some really nice RNG there on that one, getting the opposing minion to attack its ally before attacking him. 50-50 shot on that one. Got lucky. Gotta love it when RNG is in your favor.
Now, JV, I understand he was eyeing that Il'gynoth right there, but Relentless Pursuit, maybe the move right here with the hero power, just an easy little turn overall. I could respect it. Okay, so from this point forward, Coulter Guys, as we usually break down, he's usually got the upper hand. And when you really break it down, sending his 2 Dragon Queen Alexstrasza now instead of 1, he's going to have 4 dragons that all cost 1 mana. And these 2 first draws, not being too shabby. Nithog, that's a lot of rushing, and that's a lot of stats on the board. A Kaligos, he has a free spell cast now, especially that being 1 cost, and then having another Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, so next turn he can play one of those on top of, running that Nithog, then running another Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. This is just going to have so much to work with going forward, and I feel like a Coulter Guys just gets all these down. He can easily clear this out in the next 4 turns.
It is going to get interesting. That is for sure. As we have the the 2 decks talking to each other there. Sorry, I was responding to a message from the producer. All right. Wait, what? Oh, wait. Oh,
that was Kaligos. He made a card.
That's
for 0 mana because he hadn't cast a spell this turn, allowing him a free little clear off of that. And now we see the Nidhogg coming out, allowing him to establish a little bit more board, because next turn he's going to have 2 more dragons on board, which are both 4/4s, allowing him a lot to work with going forward.
Well, and let's
be honest, JV doesn't exactly have too many clears right now.
Right. And a 4/12 is kind of hard to get rid of. A 4/12 is kind of hard to get rid of.
So gets rid of one of them. 3 left, buddy. 3 left. Surprised he didn't opt to go for the silence of the Kaligos there, because it's not all that much damage if we really break it down. The biggest thing about that is allowing it to cost a free spell every single turn. And when you look at the likes of having an Apotheosis in hand, having that, Zephyrus, which could give you another spell, that's a little too much you're leaving this man to work with.
Yeah. Oh no, the lifesteal. Oh, the lifesteal.
Plenty to work with. Now, I know I said Galakrond was mostly going to be a void card in this game, but now, at this stage,
Galakron could be a combo later on, as we said, because he's looking fine. He's got plenty of heals. He has that Apotheosis. He's got that Zephyrus in hand. He's got the Alex Straza to play it down, keep on bullying. But at this point in the game, I feel like Mind Render is the void card. Under no circumstances should this man say, let's trade hands right quick. Because that would just be a terrible play.
Terrible.
And I doubt he's going to be looking at it, because when you have so much in hand, like a Mass Resurrection with all these big dragons coming out, especially when you have another Dragon Queen Alex Straza to play with, and then a Mass Resurrection, which could revive those huge dragons, especially when you have a Caligos making it free. I mean, there's just so much right here that this man can play with.
Yeah. In fact, that could be stupid good. Free, or the Plague. Or the Plague.
Oh, doesn't get the best draws off that, but still, nonetheless, still plenty overall, and having 2 more dragons to play with.
There it is.
It's closed out. He said, all right, bud. All right, we get it.
All right. Our producer laughing in the background there. But just getting exactly what you need. And I was making sure with our producer that I was allowed to say what I'm going to say, because it's the joke in throughout esports and throughout anybody who games in any kind of game that has RNG. Sometimes RNGesus is looking out for you, and sometimes he is not. And in that game, Culturgeist had RNGesus in his corner, giving him everything he needed.
Yeah.
Even if he did miss lethal in game number 3.
It's sometimes those are the games where I wish we just had an emote for these Fridays, so chat can just be like, so they can have a visual of like, what are you doing? Like, just kind of maybe me standing in the background, that could be it, just with my hands held out, like, what are you doing? Because I mean, that is just, I can't comprehend how
I was honestly waiting for you to throw something in the background.
This was, I'll admit, I put a couple holes in my walls back home. So mom and dad, if y'all are watching, don't go looking for those. But I don't own this house, so I'm not going to put anything in that. I don't have the money to pay for that. So
that's what the posters are at home are for, right? You just put the posters up to cover the holes.
I got like this big, at a foreign exchange fair, I sat there and have like this big fancy Chinese fan. And I just pin it up on top of that. You'll never see it. But
there you go.
Overall, but speaking of patching holes, JV's got a pretty big one to patch today going forward. Man, in terms of records, he's got to sit there. He's got to find a different kind of archetype that works for him, because looking at these aggro matchups, the things he's playing with, they're not exactly the strongest overall. I mean, I get it. They play into the whole aggro archetype. Token Druid, that's always a coin flip when you're facing somebody, because either you get those draws or you don't. But when you're going forward, I mean, he did get the rogue ban, which is, unfortunate for him, but everything else just didn't feel fast enough. Il'gynoth, there's too little right there to work with, because you have that card in hand. It plays off another card, which I understand is usually a win condition. But when you only have that in hand and you've already used the resources that rely on it, it's not going to be as useful, especially when you're facing the likes of any other kind of card, because either you're bullied and beaten by that point, or you got to throw it down and you don't get the full value out of it. So overall, I feel like...
Can we talk about this one? We actually had a Hearthstone match go the full hour.
I'll be darned. See,
has not happened a lot.
Though it's those longer.
Has not happened a lot.
It's those bigger decks, dude. That's what I'm saying. Those
I like
aggro decks are like, okay, let's get this over. 5 minutes, but
5 minutes.
Now
round
we can
6,
now we can
round
play
6
it out.
And we're out. Round
now
6 and we're out.
Exactly. We have plenty to talk about, especially with the series going back and forth at one stage or another. But overall, I feel like, Coulter guys, he just needs to work on finding lethals and, doing basic addition. And JV needs to sit there and get some different decks going on right here. Because, I mean, overall, I mean, like I said, both these players have plenty of potential going forward. There's just little kind of leaks going on right here in the pipeline that they got to seal up to get things running smoothly.
So for those of you watching, if you would like to complain to Mick, his home number is 555. Anyway, Mick just throwing people under the bus here.
Hey, I'm here. I love coaching. I mean, we're casters, we're analysts, right? I'm analyzing what needs to be done by these guys, and I got to be blunt about it. I can't sit here and say, well, they did their best. Nobody gets better from that.
I
I'm
mean,
trying to make these guys good, man.
We're broadcasters. We're casters. We're not analysts. We're just casters. We're not coaching here. We're just telling people the facts, just the facts, Mick. Just
There you
the
go.
facts.
There you go. So I'm laying them down. I'm great at doing that.
And some of your facts are a bit subjective there, my friend.
That's true.
That being said, that we saw a great match tonight. It could have gone either way. There were times there it could have gone either way. The top decking was what it came down to in a couple of those rounds.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, sometimes that's all Hearthstone really is, as much as I hate to say it. So, with that, we have gone actually the full hour, as you said. So, with that, we actually do come to an end. We're not going to be killing too much time. We're trying to figure out, hey, should we possibly do a 1v1? Because the game wasn't 15 minutes overall. So, with that, though, this was our last matchup of the day. Culture Guys taking it home. Overall doing a great job here. And, going forward, I'm sure, hopefully, most likely, I'm just kidding, most definitely, we will see you guys next week with another week of Collegiate Hearthstone with NECC Esports.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
Wow.